Sure helps to have E.J. Liddell. I think first and foremost, obviously, give our upperclassmen a ton of credit. We talked about yesterday and today, the message was they were going to have to be the guys that led this. And obviously, Coach Holtman's ability to build this program and the culture of this program, combined with the upperclassmen that we have that have been through some battles, we felt like if anybody was built to withstand this type of adversity, we felt like it was us for those two things primarily. So give our upperclassmen a ton of credit, first and foremost. And yeah, I texted EJ last night and told him that he was going to need to be on it. Told him today to make us look good there on the bench, and man, did he ever.
Were you nervous?
Yes. I get nervous before every game, to be honest. I think this game has been so good to me. Most of you guys know my story, how important this game has been to my family. So there's a deep-rooted passion and love for this game. So there are always nerves before every game for me. There were certainly a few more this game. But Coach, I've been talking to Coach nonstop, and he gave me a lot of confidence and kind of talked to me, kept me calm. And I think our staff on the bench, I felt like we were connected, and I felt like we were really poised in a game that had multiple runs and things. So that those things and gave me a lot of peace once we got out there and got going.
Were you trying to live up to Coach Holtman, or maybe your dad, just as a veteran coach? Like, you had a lot of guys on your shoulder right there, huh?
Yeah. I've been fortunate to work under some elite coaches, Hall of Fame Coach Homer Drew, Hall of Fame Coach Thad Mata, Bryce Drew, who's obviously thriving at GCU, and I think being under Holt has probably more than I ever thought helped prepare me for this moment. But certainly my dad and knowing he was here tonight was special for sure for me.
How much of a relief is it then when EJ comes out and starts the way that he does and kind of gets things rolling when you're coming off such a tough offensive performance the other night?
Yeah, we felt like as a staff it was going to be a matter of time, Adam, that he was going to get it going again. And listen, he works really, really hard. He's put himself, leading up to this season, continuing through this season, he's put himself in position to have games, really, really good high-level games. Excuse me. And I didn't, really appreciated him having, I think it was a career high tonight. But he was, his work has stayed as consistent, if not more, over the last week and a half. He's earned this. He earned this for sure.
He talked about in the last week or so hearing doubters and hearing people wonder if he was going to get back to the form he showed before the pause. Did you see, in addition to the work ethic you just talked about, did you see that motivating him in any way, or did you sense any of that from him?
EJ is a competitor, and so I don't know that he needed any extra motivation, but for those who did, thank you. But he's competitive. He brings it every day. He competes at a high level. So I guess if he needed a little extra, that was much appreciated because it certainly helped.
Jake, how did you and Tony and Mike, I guess, kind of change things up in terms of what you normally do on a game day? Obviously, the biggest change was for you, but I'm sure things changed for those guys as well.
Yeah, we tried to just be in constant communication. We were all kind of mixing and matching responsibilities. It required all of us to do more. So I think, Mike and Tony certainly deserve a ton of credit. They should probably be sitting up here too, quite honestly. But I felt like we were really connected, and we probably just communicated across the entire staff, which was certainly smaller than what it usually is. When you lose a guy like Ryan Peden, who's, one of the best play callers in the country, that's a big change. Then certainly, Coach Holtman being out speaks for itself. So I think we just tried to stay connected. We tried to communicate, and even the other guys on our staff, I won't name everybody, but everybody had to do a little more. So I think, everybody who was wearing these nice little shirts deserves a ton of credit.
And what kind of growth do you feel like you saw from Malachi this week? Obviously, he went a little nuts there in Nebraska. I thought he still played pretty well in Indiana, even if he didn't quite score as much. And then obviously tonight he played well again. Just how did you think he kind of grew throughout the week?
Yeah, I think even though some of those shots didn't go in against Indiana, Malachi's figuring the game is slowing down for him a little bit. He's figuring out how to get more shots off, and he's staying aggressive, playing with a little more physicality and force than what he started with at the beginning of the year. So, we've our belief in him, and really all our young guys, in that transition right from high school to college is challenging, but he's certainly started to emerge as a offensive weapon. And it's going to be hard, guys are going to game plan a little bit more for him now, but I think his consistency in practice is what's setting him up to have success like tonight.
Jay, can you walk us through the timeline here? When you found out, how you found out, your immediate reaction?
Yeah, Coach Holtman and Coach Peden weren't at practice yesterday. So that was, we didn't quite know all the details of exactly what today would look like. There's obviously some precautions that were taken yesterday, and then once we got word that they were in fact not going to be there, it became like a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zooms, a lot of conversations, throughout last night and throughout today. But we knew it was a possibility yesterday before practice, and so the guys got to hear our voices, when we prepared for the game, and that's when it started.
Do I have this right? You've never been a head coach in a game, or did you do some high school, middle school, anything like that?
I thought I was a head coach when I played. I thought I was a head coach, probably to the dismay of some of my teammates. Acted like it a little too much. But yeah, this is the first time, and you got to talk a lot more, than you do as an assistant coach. So forgive my voice, but it was a lot of fun. And again, I think our staff, our upperclassmen, made it a lot of fun tonight. What
was the hardest part? I talked to Jay Billis, and he said that the challenge is to be yourself, not to be something you aren't. And he said, don't even bother talking to the refs, because they know you're an assistant, and they're just not gonna. Yeah, that was probably good advice. Maybe I did that a little too much then. Thanks, Jay. No, I think the hardest part was when you're kind of in a coordinator role, how we divide the staff up, you almost have like a laser focus during the game and your preparation. So the overview of what a head coach has to do, that was different for me. That was different. So we do that a little bit in practice. And coach gives us, we may split teams up, and he'll give an assist in a team and things like that. So there's a little bit of that, but I think having to think through substitutions, watching the offensive flow and the defensive flow and flow of the game, calling timeouts, communicating more in timeouts. There's a lot of things, and I wrote all these things down that I could think of, and I'm sitting here I'm calling Coach Holtman like, hey, Coach, what about this? What about this? He's like, hey, just be yourself. Just relax, trust your instincts, be yourself. And that was kind of the advice of some of the people that are mentors to me, in the coaching world. That was the consistent advice that I got leading up to the game. You got the floor kneeling there down really, really well. You look like a pro, like a veteran. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you don't think about those things at all. I mean, I hope my posture wasn't too bad out there, but yeah, I wanted to be mindful of the people behind us so they could see. But no, listen, tonight was a lot of fun. I can't state it enough. Our staff, the collective group that we have, our upperclassmen, the culture that Coach Holtman has built here, like if anybody could do it, it was going to be us. And we were confident in that. We were confident as a staff in that, and I believe our players were confident in that. So, yeah, give our guys credit. Coach Holtman, had his fingerprints all over this game, and so he deserves a ton of credit too.
Jake, you've alluded to a lot of this already, but the idea of, you watched the game tonight through a totally different perspective than what you usually do. I don't even know if you can reflect on this in the moment, but what do you more appreciate now about Coach Holtman or other head coaches that you've worked with now that you've filled those shoes?
Yeah, I didn't know if my view of Coach's ability could get any higher. I mean, I think he is the best in the country. But man, what he goes through on a game and prep for a game, was obviously what we did as a staff today was significantly less than that even. But I think his mind and his feel, he's so gifted in those areas, and my appreciation for his ability to manipulate the game, whether it's with substitutions or conversations he has with guys coming out of the game. You're managing personalities. There's all this stuff that goes into it, and he's so gifted. I mean, he is so gifted at it. So I think you experience something like that, and it's almost like kind of hold them to an even higher esteem now. So
I know you kind of alluded to some of the nervousness, the anxiety and whatnot. Was there a point, maybe it was EJ's hot start, where you thought to yourself gee, this is actually pretty fun, I'm kind of enjoying this?
Yeah, I think once the ball was tipped, those feelings went away, and certainly I didn't realize. I knew EJ played really, really well and was on one to start the game. I didn't realize, I think it was 17 points. I mean, I don't even know if that's a record in itself. I mean, it was impressive. And again, I wish EJ had unlimited eligibility, so if I'm ever fortunate enough to be in this situation again, I can have him with me, because that was impressive.
Coach, what else, besides EJ obviously had a monster night, but, what else contributed, did you think, to, having the worst offensive performance of the season, just a couple of days ago, to today, potentially having the best of the entire season?
Yeah, I think it was just a matter of time before we were going to play better offensively, because our guys didn't lose confidence. We stayed with what we know. But I think also our bench contributions, Michi Johnson and Cedric Russell, Justin Arns he's not going to go 0 for 5, but maybe again the rest of the year. And if one of your best offensive weapons is having an off night, in order to be good offensively, you have to have guys step up. Malachi was certainly really good. EJ was really good. I thought Kyle Young played with the pop and the force and the activity that we love about him and that he's certainly capable of. Zed Key, did some things really well. But those threes that Zed and Michi hit, and some of them very timely threes, was critical for us.
Obviously, EJ's done this all year, even if he struggled the last 2 games, and it seems like Malachi's growth has been gradual, but this is really the first time this year where we've seen it both together in the same game, where they're both kind of having a great night, 58 combined points. When that happens and that starts to click more often, what does that open up for this offense?
Yeah, it makes us more dynamic. It opens things up for even more for some other guys. I think when you have multiple guys out there who are such a threat, it opens things up for some other guys. Certainly, we needed all of it tonight. We know we got to clean up some things on the other side of the ball. This was a challenging team to prepare for, considering all the change that happened in the last kind of 24, 48 hours. Our mindset was to keep it simple. That's not a simple team to play against. Coach Collins runs really good stuff. They obviously have really good players. So we knew it was going to be a challenge on the defensive side of the ball. We've identified some things these first 3 games on defense that we have to get back to doing at the level we were doing before our pause. If we do that, we'll certainly be better on that end. But yeah, we needed all of it, all 11 threes, all however many free throws. I don't have the stats in front of me, how many free throws it was. I think it was 1 miss, and we needed all of it tonight.
And maybe this is an oversimplification, but you guys basically almost had a month off here, and then you come back, you got to play 2 road games, and you guys struggle. Is it just something to just being back at home and the comfortability of playing here that's why you guys shot so much better than you had the last 2 games?
Without question. Our guys love playing here. Buckeye Nation is great. They're good for, on any given night, several point advantage for us. But our guys love being here. There's certainly a familiarity and a comfortability, which, again, the change, the adversity that we kind of went through the last day and a half, it's certainly great to be home. It was certainly great to be home. I think that was really good medicine for us. And yeah, our guys they're confident here, really confident here, and love playing here.
Last 2, we're good here.
You mentioned EJ's stretch and not really knowing what he was like, how well he was doing at the time. But I'm curious, were you surprised to see maybe how open he was at points? Because that's what he said when I asked him. He's like, I was just shooting because Northwestern was giving me open looks. I mean, were you surprised to see EJ getting those open looks, or kind of what was going on to allow that to happen?
Yeah, I think their ball screen coverage was going to give him a window there to catch off some of that stuff, and he was ready. His shots were good shots. I think you didn't really see him take any where you're like, I wouldn't do that unless you're really on fire. But they were all good shots, and so. Again, he's worked really, really hard to develop that aspect of his game on the perimeter. And we showed him some things on film last couple games that he took, evaluated, and went out and executed. But I think his aggressiveness, we know he's going to be aggressive, and they were good looks. Some of them got a little more challenging as the game went on, for sure. But he still was in rhythm and knocked him down.
Hey, Coach. I've got 2 questions. So, the game against Duke, Russell and other guys stepped up key. So because I know when they got into the game late, and when the game was close, they opened things up a little bit. How important was that for you to have faith and trust in them?
Yeah, we have confidence and a lot of trust in our bench, and our depth, extends beyond even maybe what we were able to put out there at times tonight. I mean, I think we got multiple guys kind of down there who we believe can come in and help this team. And the challenging part tonight was to kind of figure out who was in a rhythm and who could give you the best out there. But it's been different guys. It's been different guys every game, and that's what we love about this team. We feel like our depth is a strength for us.
And then the last question. As a player, you were also a floor leader, right? So now that you had to step up and be an active coach for a day, how did that translate from being on the floor as a player to being the main person calling the shots as a coach?
Yeah,
I'm
trying to think back. I don't want to age, but it's been a while since I've played. But the one thing that I love about this game is the camaraderie and the connectedness of teams, and that was my favorite part in college. God's instilled in me just, I think, a natural desire to lead. I was voted captain as a sophomore when I was in college, and it's all about relationships. I think that's the thing that I love about basketball is it's a tool you can build relationships with basketball. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter where you're from, like basketball connects people. And so I've always loved that. I loved it as a player. And I tried the relationships that I've been able to build with guys on our team, here, just tried to keep those the same tonight. Didn't really try to do anything different. Didn't try to do anything crazy. I didn't, wasn't trying to beat coach. And so that was fun. And those guys, it's a fun group to coach. It's a fun group to coach. So the relationship side, I think, will always be the same. Doesn't matter, assistant coach, head coach, wherever you're at, those exist in basketball. Basketball is a game that unites people, and I love that about it.
What about the transition from a player to a coach?
Yeah, the recovery time, when the cases I do have to jump in practice, the recovery time is nowhere near what it used to be. And try to avoid that as much as possible. But I miss the camaraderie of a locker room probably more than anything. But we still have that as in our staff, and that's the fun part. I think our staff is so connected. So miss that, being in the locker room, those conversations after a long practice, conversations after win. But the competitiveness that you think you miss as a player, coaching feeds that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Good.